What helped me in my career was the traditional Jewish belief that education is absolutely everything. Well, I was born in a small town to the south of Lusaka, which is the capital today of Zambia, was then the capital of Northern Rhodesia, a British colony. There were 400 whites and about 20,000 blacks. My father had a shop, was the country store, but said outside P. Fischer, general merchant.
After finishing his studies in Zambia and South Africa, young Stanley moved to the London School of Economics for his bachelor's degree.
But before that, we went on a course of the Sochnut called Machon HaChoref. And we were in Israel, people from South Africa and Rhodesia from Habonim, and we loved it. It was wonderful.
Dr. Fischer then continued his studies and developed a career as a widely regarded professor at the University of Chicago and at MIT.
I never had thought that I'd be a professor or anything, because you come from a small town in the middle of nowhere. You don't know exactly where you fit into things.
Being Stan's student is a lifetime thing. I mean, I began my career at MIT working under Stan with my dissertation.
He wrote one of the most important textbooks in macroeconomics that inspired many young people to study the field, and an incredible number of Stan's students he motivated to serve in public policy positions.
In 1969, many years ago, and a very young postdoctoral fellow came to class, and we thought he was another student because he was going with very, very short shorts, folded up, just coming back from a summer in a kibbutz, and it turns out that he was the one who was asked to give the lecture.
Stan was certainly a great teacher, very clear, knowledgeable, motivating. What was unique about him, I think, was his eclecticism.
Well, MIT was great, simply great, and I had wonderful students to teach. When one day I get a phone call from the State Department, Secretary Schultz wants you to come to a meeting on Israel next Tuesday.
That meeting in 1983 ended with Dr. Fischer being part of the U.S. effort to help Israel stabilize its economy.
Stan, together with Herb Stein and with George Shultz, were very instrumental in saving Israel from an economic disaster.
High inflation had to be transformed first to hyperinflation, and then the economic stabilization took place.
To the amazement of everybody, the program succeeded.
He then moved on to become, in 1988, the chief economist of the World Bank.
I moved to it because my parents always wanted me to do good. So I was always interested in the real world, and being a theoretical economist is very nice. The challenge of the real world is something else.
During the 90s, Dr. Fischer was the first deputy managing director of the International Monetary Fund, playing a critical part in managing the IMF's assistance to member countries during the financial crises of the late 1990s. He then continued to become vice chairman of Citigroup, until one day he got a phone call.
I was sitting next to a swimming pool in one of the lovely Caribbean resorts, and the phone rings. It's Bibi. We want you to come and be the governor of the central bank.
Stanley was the right man at the right time at the right place. When he held the helm of the Bank of Israel during that period, he helped, designed, engineered, and implemented the most successful strategy of how to protect the economy of Israel from this extraordinary world tsunami.
To have such an experienced and brilliant policymaker at the steering wheel was crucial to taking timely and good decisions during the crisis.
And I think he brought some sanity to a field that was very important.
And what is not less important is to calm the public that quickly realized that when he says that the system is safe, he can be trusted.
And while the rest of the world was in turmoil and upheaval, Israel was a safe haven because it was in the sure hands of a master captain and a great banker and an incredible person.
After completing 2 terms as the governor of the Bank of Israel, Dr. Fischer accepted the invitation to become vice chair of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System.
He brought to the table immense insight about the economy, and he was critically involved in all the decisions we made.
It was a very interesting job. The people at the Fed are absolutely first-rate.
In the aftermath of the crisis, our most important priority was developing the board's work on financial stability, and Stan led that work.
Stan was also extremely well respected internationally, and I think he made it all that much easier for the Fed to work with other countries, other central banks.
Beyond that, Stan's a person with unfailing grace and good humor. And no matter how stressful conditions may be, he's a person that you want to have in a group managing a crisis or tense type situations.
He's been a tremendous influence on me, and I'm sure many, many other macroeconomists and policymakers around the world.
I was the luckiest person to have Stan as my mentor.
What stands out with Stanley is knowledge, intelligence, and integrity. And behind that, a decent human being.